Hello YouTubers. This is a video I've really wanted to do for a long time because it's a question I get asked about a lot on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I am SWGirlLauren. I talk a lot on Instagram about how I have overcome binge eating and overeating in the last 9 months whilst following the Slimming World plan, and what I feel has helped me to do that, and what advice I can give on that. So I thought the best way for me to put that advice across was in a YouTube video, which then I can direct people to if they're struggling with their addiction. So probably the best thing for me to do is explain where I believe that my problems stem from. So probably when I was about 8 years old, I started secret eating. Now, my mum and dad split when I was 4 and I was an only child, and my mum worked very, very hard to make sure that me and her had a really lovely life. And she therefore wasn't around as much as I guess some mums that work part-time and have that flexibility did have. So yeah, she was very keen for me not to eat a lot of sweets and chocolate and crisp, and the reason for that was actually because she didn't want me to get tooth decay. Obesity wasn't really a thing back in the early 80s, and so she didn't even know to be concerned that I might get overweight, but she was very, very concerned about me getting fillings and things like that, which I did end up with loads of fillings anyway. So yeah, so instead of getting those things at home, I used to, with my pocket money, go to the shops and get them and secretly eat them. I used to, whenever I was at friends' houses, encourage them to go get things so I could eat them, and it kind of spiraled out of control from there. Back in the 80s, we were able to get the school bus when we went to middle school, so that was when we were 9 years old onwards. We got the school bus on our own, and it was only a few stops up the road, me and my stepsister. But we'd always go to the sweet shop, or Thurston's as it was then, but it's called Greg's now, and we'd just get things for ourselves, and it just got worse and worse and worse. My food addiction and overeating and binge eating got really out of control when I got my own house when I was 24. I think predominantly I was really lonely because I was living on my own, but also I think I was just really immature about things and was kind of like, oh, I'm on my own, I can eat what I want, I don't need to justify what I'm eating to anyone. And so I was kind of living off takeaways, and my weight really, really ballooned. When I was about 25, I met my ex-boyfriend, and we used to enjoy going to cafes and eating cake and things like that, and it just spiraled and spiraled until I went up to about size 26 when I was with him. So yeah, I lost a bit of weight while I was with him, and then that relationship ended, and then not long after I'd split with my ex, I met my husband, who I'm obviously now married to and have my children with, and as it can do, over time my weight gradually got more and more whilst I was with my husband, and once again I ballooned up to a size 26. I probably was about a size 20 when I met my husband, size 18 to 20, so I don't talk in weight, I talk more in sizes. And we had a very sort of healthy social life, and we would eat out a lot, but on top of that I would be secret eating again. So mostly in my car, because I have a job where I drive around a lot and I'm on my own a lot. I'm a makeup artist, and I'm always sort of driving around, and I wouldn't necessarily organise my food very well. So quite often I'd end up very, very hungry, very tired, go to a garage, and probably, no exaggeration, I would eat around about 2,000 to 2,500 calories in an hour car journey. Just unconscious eating, really. Had you asked me before I joined Slimming World if I was addicted to sugar, I would have said 100% no. I would have said, oh, my biggest vice is fat. I love adding butter to things. I love having olive oil in my cooking, and all of those things. But I think really when it comes down to it, I was addicted to sugar, because when I first joined Slimming World, I decided that using sins for sugary snacks was a waste of sins. Yeah, I had the occasional small bar of dark chocolate because I knew that was a bit healthier, and I've done things over the months when I've been on it that I've kind of spent my sins on some sugary things, but predominantly I haven't spent my sins on sugary things, and certainly for the first month I really didn't want to. spend them on sugary snacks. And so without realising I was only having fruit as a snack, I, before I knew it, had stopped eating snacks with refined sugar in. So I'm talking about biscuits, I'm talking about chocolate, I'm talking about cakes, popcorn, like all of those things, hi-fi bars. I just didn't have them in my diet because I just felt that I could, I'd rather spend my sins on a gin and tonic, for example, which I appreciate is sugar. So let's, but predominantly refined sugar in snacks I wasn't eating. And gradually over time I stopped wanting those things, and before I knew it, I'd kind of, I didn't desire like sauces like tomato sauce or salad cream or any of those. I certainly didn't want anything in a jar that had sugar in, ice cream or anything like that. I just didn't desire those things anymore. So gradually over time, without even realising it, I was getting more and more of a handle on the food that I was eating. And the desire to want to overeat and binge eat was starting to reduce. I think the great thing about Slimming World for me is that you can eat a large meal and you can fill yourself up. And I would suggest that if anybody wants advice on filling themselves up at mealtime, is get your protein up. So if you get your protein high, you know that you're going to be full for a long time. And if you get hungry in between those meals, just surround yourself by apples or whatever your favourite speed fruit is. Surround yourself with those, and that's what you have as your snacks. When I first joined in that first month, oh my god, I must have sunk myself practically. I had that much fruit, and over time, obviously, the amount of snacks that I have, so the amount of fruit that I have in a day is reduced, because I find that the 3 large meals that I have get me through and keep me going. The mental demons of overeating and binge eating are still 100% there. If I do not plan accordingly for my week, and I do not know that I've got everything in, all the tools in place, and if I allow myself to get tired, or if I allow myself to, be on my own and make excuses, then the old habits can easily come back in. And I have to work very, very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. But all the time that I am thinking I want to eat those things, all that I am thinking is the end goal is far more important to me. And by end goal, I mean a healthier, happier Lauren. And that's predominantly what it's all about. I think a size, I'd love to say, I'll get to a size 14 or a size 12 or, a weight if you want to put in weight terms. But for me, the goal has always been to build my relationship with food and be a healthier, happier person for everybody around me, but predominantly for myself. I think for anybody that's struggling with binge eating, I think the key thing that you can do for yourself is to assess if you are addicted to sugar. If you feel that you are, then I think you need to treat it like any other drug. If you were addicted to nicotine, if you're addicted to alcohol, if you're addicted to heroin, you would take those things. The only way you could stop having those things, you wouldn't be like, I'll still have a little bit every day. You'll be like, I'll completely eradicate those out of my diet or, my life. So if it's cigarettes, you just have to stop smoking. You might want nicotine patches or things like that. But I think the best way to stop smoking is just cold turkey. The best way to give up any drug is cold turkey. And I think the sooner that people realise that sugar is a drug and to treat it as such and to completely take it out of the diet, the better they can combat that as an addiction. It sounds extreme, it really does, and I've not read any books on it, and I don't generally eat sugar-free alternatives like, people make raw food cakes and things like that. Nutribomb sent me some raw food balls which were really, really nice, but I think in the most part I just generally don't like to eat sugary snacks in between meals because I think it just perpetuates a problem. I think the main thing you can do for yourself is treat your sugar addiction like any other addiction and just realise that those things cannot be moderated if you do feel you were addicted to them. Some people haven't got a sugar addiction and they can happily have sugar every day as part of their sins and keep it in control. Hats off to those people. I unfortunately am not one of those people, and I think if you feel you're not one of those people, then the best advice you can give is just to not have it in your life anymore. You don't need it. You can get your crutches and your enjoyment out of living life and loving life, and I promise you those rewards are far greater than any bar of chocolate, any packet of crisps, any slice of cake could ever give you. Trust me when I tell you that. I was the biggest cake fan in the world, and I just don't need it in my life anymore. I hope this helps. I will make more of these, I promise, and it's been lovely to talk openly and honestly about this, and I will see you on the other side.